Guys, today we're going to be talking about Major Crimes, Season 2, Episode 1, Final Cut. A little bit before we get into it, I'm going to talk about something James Duff talked about on Facebook. He had a little chat with the fans before the episode aired. And he said that Season 2 is all about identity. And tonight's episode was how you identify through your relationships and stuff. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that later. Stress how much spoilers. Okay, first, I'm gonna talk about a few production thingies. It's a word, I'm using it. I have notes on my computer, that's why I keep looking down. We just jump right into the episode. We jump right into the action, right into the crime. You know, we're back on, the team is back, we're all working, the energy is really great. We're just going through the crime scene, and I love how they jump from the crime scene into the morgue with this great edit. Like, Buzz is filming witness statements, and then you see the camera close, and then we're in the morgue. Like, we're watching it with Sharon, because Sharon wasn't there to start off with, so we're watching this whole thing with Sharon, and then we're moving. So it's like we're part of that. We're right next to Sharon watching this go on. So that was kind of cool. The color this episode with the characters and everything is blue. That was the color, at least for the first act. That's what Greg Lavoie was saying in his fashion file, which again I'll link in the downstairs. That's actually a good read. I read all of his fashion files from last year, kind of getting an idea of what the show was like through the costume designer's eyes, which was really cool. This season it seems like he's going to be adding sketches. There's a really, really great sketch on the page of Sharon Rader's outfit. It was the blue dress that she was wearing for most of the episode. So that was really cool. So go check it out downstairs, linking. We just jumped into this great chemistry. We hit the ground running. There was no awkward fumbling. At the beginning of last season, everybody likes each other. We all, if I hadn't have seen last season, I would have thought everybody had been working together for years, not just the team minus Sharon and Amy Sykes. They're very much incorporated into the team. They have a great synergy. It was all it flows well. They were doing great, and I think what encapsulated the team cohesion was the scene where Provenza's counting his money that he won from being the last person to make it from his account, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And he's counting his money, and he's saying they're all talking to the DDA about DDA Rios, which we're going to talk about her in a second too, about how they've completely decided that the husband killed his wife and that's it. And he's counting his money, not really acting like he's not paying attention. And he was like, well, can we just, I don't know, try something new and just try and asking him why he stabbed his wife to death? And Sharon looks at him, or just kind of like, oh god, and just kind of slaps him behave on the shoulder. And he just keeps going, and that wouldn't have flown last season, or before in the closer. That wouldn't have flown at all. So to have that scene where they're just so comfortable with each other like that was great. And it highlighted how much of an outsider DDA Rios is in all of this, because she's not. The minute she comes in, she walks in, she's like, oh god, a dead body. And everybody's just kind of like, why are you here? It was a really great way to sort of introduce her and show that her energy was a bit different from everybody else's. So, I gotta talk about it because it's such a running thread through the episode, was Sanchez being subtle with his flirting. He was just I swear, he would long stares, looking her up and down, and being so helpful and all this kind of stuff. I love it. Sanchez is never subtle. Because he's done it before in The Closer, and, you know, we've seen him flirt with somebody, and it's just not subtle. And and it's so obvious that he's not getting that she just doesn't, you know, just kind of, he's like a periphery person to her, and she's just, you know, focused on getting her job done, and just kind of ignores him. And everybody around him is like, dude, what? Stop. Just stop. And it's hilarious. I find it hilarious. Anyways, Rios, her character, she has this very, very big, eager drive, and it's much to the detriment of anything else around her. She just wants to get this job done. She wants to get Philip Stroh in jail for life, probably, you know, death penalty kind of thing, and she's very much, nothing is going to get into her way. And that creates problems. Especially with Sharon and Rusty. Like, she's like so single-minded in this goal that she doesn't realize that it's not okay, one, to use the term orphan with a high-risk foster child. Really? Like, he's a kid. Yes, the defense is probably gonna pull something out like that and really attack Rusty, but there are other ways of preparing him for that than calling him names and just like getting up in his face and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big mistake, and doing it in front of Sharon too, because really, you don't threaten Mama Raider's children's. You just don't. It's not a good idea for your continued health. I've got a lot more to say about that, but we'll talk about it in a minute. Oh, and the second thing she did was going over Sharon's head when she found out that Rusty was actually living with her and that she was his legal guardian. And then she's like, you're not doing what I want you to do. She went up right over her head to Taylor. And it was just Rios not getting the way that this team functioned. And it seems like, even though Taylor is still very much Taylor, and if you've seen The Closer, you know what I mean, and if you've seen season 1 of Major Crimes, you know what I mean, but he still seems like in the last couple of months in this hiatus that we have not seen, you know, it seems like Sharon and Assistant Chief Taylor have really sort of made a tolerable working relationship with each other. You know, they get each other, they have a plan, it's to make deals, and that's the thing. Rios didn't want to make any more deals. She was like, she's not for deal making. And that's a problem, because now this team and Sharon are very focused on deal making, so Rios is very much outside of that. It wasn't meshing well, and a lot of people hate her for it. Like, I have, oh my god, you're really, really stupid and ambitious feelings towards her. Like, I just can't, she's got to get over that before I have any sort of positive feelings for her, because she has to learn to play well with others. Honestly, because she's not, yeah, and she's expecting that everybody should, you know, fill her in, answer to her, and even, and she's just disrupting this balance that they've carefully built, and she's not getting why she's a problem. Sharon Sassy Raider is back. The sass and the snark is back, and I can't even tell you how happy that makes me, because last season, yes, we saw the like directed missile, you know, digs, and just the, you know, you don't say moments, and, you know, willing to use the pull and the power, you know, to get what she wanted. But I think, you know, they were going for a more softer Raider last season, and she didn't know where she really stood with her new team, and she wanted to, you know, sort of get them to like her, so she had to tread kind of carefully. Now she's back to comfortable. You know, her comfortable, like, easy, professional, you know, way, and she doesn't care if other people don't like her. She just doesn't. If it gets the job done and she's not breaking any rules, she doesn't care. And I love it. Another thing I want to talk about is Mama Raider. It was just, I loved it. I loved it. And for the first instance of seeing the mother side of Sharon Rader was right, the scene in the morgue when they find out that the victim was pregnant, and the suggestion is the way that the victim was killed. It suggested that she was like drugged of some kind. She was drugged somehow, and I think it was Sanchez or Morales. I'm not sure. But one of them had suggested that maybe she had gotten drunk, like she had been drinking, and she just softly just negated that sentence, that assumption with, no, she was pregnant. And then just the look of there was this almost like wistful, like, oh, pregnant. Like she just couldn't understand why a mother would endanger her child by drinking. Like it was just that, I was just like, you saw what Sharon Rader is like as a mother. Family feels, the domesticity of the scene when she gets home from work and he's eating in front of the TV and he's like, I'm not on the couch. I'm not eating on the couch. I'm in front of the couch. And she just kind of like laughs. She just kind of like is smiling and being like, yeah, I get it. And he's like, I have a plate. And that was just so nice because I've had that conversation with my parents. I'm like, things are not happening that you think might be happening. I'm following the rules like a good child should. There was a verisimilitude that I loved about that scene and how just kind of simple it was. It was very simple, and I liked that. And then Uggs. She changed out of high heels and put on Uggs, and we all know that was a Mary touch because Mary McDonnell loves her Uggs and stuff, and Uggs, yay. Fangirl. Not even gonna try to deny it. Can we just take a minute to talk about Mary's hair? Just for a second. We're just gonna side note. I don't know what they've done this season. I love it. Like, what even? I don't know. It seemed really natural. Like, it wasn't overproduct, or there wasn't like a weird sort of, like, it didn't seem like overly straightened, which I think they've done before in the past, and I liked it this time. Oh, let's talk about Rusty for a little bit, shall we? Rusty. He's just giving me feels, just this entire episode. Like, the first time he sees Sharon, he gets this big smile on my face, like, oh, there you are, I missed you. And then, with the DDA and how he just... If she ever becomes a likable character, I will never forgive her for using the term orphan. Like... And he just feels so much about his past and how much he hates what he did, what he had to do to get through the months between, the Stroh case, whatever happened with Stroh, and his mom leaving him. He said he wanted friends his whole life, not just a couple of years, 1 or 2, maybe a couple of months since, his mom leaving him at the zoo. His whole life. He's never had a friend in his whole life. That's what testifying means to him. He feels like he's going to lose every friend and ally he's ever had. And the way Sharon and Provenza how they both dealt with that. They were very understanding, very open, made sure that he knew that no matter what, they would always be there for him, no matter what. And that conversation that Rusty and Provenza had where he was like, I can't have Sharon there and you can't be there because I don't want you to hate me. Again, real and there, and raw emotion. Like, it was great. So this is where I'm going to talk about Louis a bit. Louis Provenza. I don't call him Louis often. It sounds weird. Yeah, no, I have to call him Provenza. Sorry. And this is where I'm going to talk a little bit about how we identify through relationships. Kind of tie it back to what James Duff was talking about on Facebook. Again, if I can find it, I'll link it. And then this was a running theme. Like, the minute he showed up and Flynn asked him about his, the retirement party he was supposed to go to, and he was like, that person died. And then Flynn was like, oh, you're the last person to live in your graduating class at the academy. You get $4,000. That's awesome. And Provenza just seemed tired and old. Like, he made me feel tired for him. And, it seems like he's trying to figure out who he is now, you know, being the last of his kind. Like, he told Rusty, I'm the last of my kind. And, you know, figuring out how to deal with that now. And that was like one of the first, like, when I was thinking about what James Duff was saying about how we're going to be dealing with identity, the first person that came to my head was Provenza, because this whole episode he's trying to figure out who he is now that he's the last alive of pretty much all of his friends. I mean, that's pretty deep stuff. Who are you without friends and family? That's a question to ask yourself. And how do you relate to the world without that support group? And that's a really interesting question to think about. So this is where Jonna gets deep and stuff. So Andy Flynn just keeps staying perfect. Apparently, he has a physical coming up, and he's very worried about said physical. So he's counting his steps, 10,000 steps every day, and it's leading just big, enthusiastic, almost clown-like cardio steps. Because the more circles he walked around Provenza, the harder I laughed. It was the genuine Provenza Flynn scene. It was just there, and I loved it, and I was hysterical laughter just the whole time. There's gifs. Find the gifs. Yes. Oh! Idiots. If you don't get the reference, link in the downstairs because you need to see the video. And yes, it's a Sharon Andy ship reference because Sharon Andy shippers made it a ship reference. Hey, idiot. Well, he didn't say hey, idiot. He said, what do you think we are, idiots or something? I will be keeping tally. That's one. Throughout the season. That's gonna happen. There was a case to solve! What? What? There was a case? Admittedly, I forget that happens sometimes too in a crime show drama procedural thing. The killer was stone cold. I mean, because I refused to spoil that for you. It was stone cold, the killer. I wish there was a gender-neutral pronoun that we can use that wasn't that objectifies somebody. Yeah. My mom was like, cool, calm, and collected. That's how I would describe that person. Wouldn't even know.